Thank you very much. My name's Andy Holmes, and it's my great privilege to share memories of being a colleague and working with Jim over probably about 31 years. Jim was a marvelous colleague. When I arrived in Cambridge in 1972, I knew nothing about the University of Cambridge. I didn't know what a tripos was. I didn't know what Part 1 and Part 2 was. And Jim and Ted MacDonald were very kind in showing me the ropes, and I really appreciated that. Furthermore, Ruth and Jim were exceptionally hospitable, and we had many lovely dinner parties at their house, and many engagements also in the Panton Arms. I regarded Jim as a role model, and he was a mentor in numerous situations. First and foremost, he was a champion, as has been mentioned, a champion at mentoring women researchers, and he afforded many excellent opportunities to those women researchers who joined his group. Mary Garson pointed out to me that, in fact, many of Jim's co-workers went on to take academic posts, and we've seen that here today. Another of Jim's talents was he was an expert in DIY. I tried to emulate that, but I failed miserably. I couldn't hold a candle to him. He was also revolutionary. In partnership with the late Stuart Warren, they revitalized the second-year organic chemistry teaching course to make it more attractive to those students who were being teased towards biochemistry. And that really had a big impact on a number of undergraduates choosing to do second-year organic chemistry. Also, I remember from the slide that Mary Garson showed, she mentioned Richard Brereton. Jim was the person who initiated Richard Brereton to write a computer program to add up all the exam marks, which we were all doing numerically, and some of us were rather slow at mental arithmetic, and that was almost failing the exam oneself. And scientifically, in his research in the field of biosynthesis and bioorganic chemistry, Jim was a pioneer in combining new ideas from the other disciplines to help solve problems in the biosynthesis of polyketides. I think of two examples. One was the use of the maximum entropy method, which took the unreal component of the Fourier transform and extracted extra resolution data, signal-to-noise data. Another thing he did was he used the NMR beta shift method for deuterium detection in biosynthetic intermediates. So these are ideas from other disciplines being brought in to solve the problems in biosynthesis. When Sir Alan Battersby reached the retiring age, the 1702 chair of organic chemistry fell vacant, and the junior members in the academic staff were very keen to see some representation of staff members on the vacancy committee. And Jim was selected as the person to represent the organic staff in selecting the chair of organic chemistry, who turned out very wisely on the part of the committee to be Steve Lay. Now, the question then was, Steve Lay would only come if we gave him a new lab. Jim was a very strategic thinker, and so he engineered the idea of turning one of the practical labs in first-year chemistry into a research lab. Now, the following details are something that Steve can explain much better than I, but there were some pretty tough negotiations on financing the renovation of the teaching lab so that it was up to the standards of what he wanted in coming in to take up a new lab. But it all worked out. I think there were some financial costs at Steve's expense, but nevertheless, it worked out very well. And we got him. That was the most important thing. Now, I want to finish by describing Jim as extremely canny and strategic. One thing he would say often to us, and many of you who have been colleagues will remember this, you youngsters need to do something about this or that. And he said it in such a way that one felt embarrassed and highly motivated to do that thing. He really embarrassed us into activity. And there's a photograph, I think, that sums it up. It's taken from the photo of him on the memorial service at the funeral. Press the wrong button. And that's Jim, isn't it? Quizzical and not really believing what you're telling him. So we miss him tremendously as an esteemed colleague, a valued mentor, and above all, a very good friend. So let us remember Jim in that light as we move forward to the next component of the talks today.